All right, hello and welcome everyone. This is Power Hour. Today's topic is going to be SharePoint pages, page scheduling, and page approvals. And here is the stinger. And then we'll talk about a little bit more about the details of what Power Hour is, and how you can come join us. You all voted for the SharePoint pages, and so we're not going to be talking about designing pages or what's necessarily on the pages. We're going to be talking about the concept of where the pages are, how to schedule them, how to turn on the scheduling, how to go through the process of working on a page, creating a page, and then we'll talk about the concept of page approvals and how that can work in conjunction with the page scheduling. All right, so first of all, just now, if you've taken our courses at iwmentor.com, we have that whole one called Site Design and Web Parts, and you learn how to create pages and how to design them. But let's go ahead and level set and just make sure we all kind of know what a page and news is. So when I go just to my home page of my SharePoint site, I can click the new button here. And a page and a news post are two things that I can choose from. So, but they both really are actually pages. And so each one that you create is going to go into your pages library, and they're both going to be just like these ASPX files. They're both going to be files in that library. So now we're going to talk about page scheduling. So how does that work? So first of all, before you start scheduling pages, what does page scheduling mean, and how do you turn it on? So page scheduling is not going to be a button that you will just see by default on each page. It is a setting that you need to turn on first. And page scheduling is, I would think that it would be more applicable to news, Joelle, because news is going to be more like timely and has a certain date that the news needs to go out. More so probably than pages, but the same concept applies across both. So yeah, if you have permission, you can go turn on scheduling. So I'll go back to my site pages library, and here's my scheduling button. And so scheduling is not turned on yet. I'll go ahead and turn it on. Enable scheduling. And then it's reminding me, if you disable scheduling on this site, previously scheduled pages and news posts will still be published at the specified time. So if you set something to publish next week, and then you go ahead and just and you have it scheduled, you have a page scheduled, and you go ahead and turn this setting back off, that page is still going to wait, and it's going to be scheduled next week. So that's what that's letting you know. So I went ahead and turned it on. And then once I turn on scheduling, then how do I schedule something? So there are a few places. It's really just a piece of metadata that exists. So now sometimes when you turn on settings in SharePoint, it will automatically add a column for you. It didn't automatically add a column for me to see the scheduled date. Let me go ahead and schedule something, and then we'll look at where that data is. So I'll go ahead and go to my little test page that I created a few minutes ago and edit that and go to my page details. And okay, so here's the setting. So each individual page can now be scheduled. So I'll say turn scheduling on, and then I need to tell it what date that I'm going to publish it. Let me scroll down a little. So I'll just say I want to publish this. I'm going to change this so it will publish sometime during Power Hour, just in a few minutes. So I'm going to change this. I wonder if it'll let me do it by minute. I'm not sure. It's 11:24 right now here, so I'll just put 11:30. So it's going to automatically publish at 11:30, and so then we'll get to watch it do that. So I went ahead and changed the publishing, but then it's not really scheduled yet because I haven't really saved my changes yet. So I was just changing some metadata about that page, and now I have to click schedule. in order for it to now become scheduled. So now the page is not going to be visible to everyone until that certain date and time. So let's go back to the Pages library. And let's see. Let's go look at what that metadata is going to be. So I'll go ahead and see. I've got first published date. That is really just when somebody clicked publish. Where's the scheduling? Scheduled published version. That's really versioning. Sometimes when you don't see metadata here, you'll still see it. We have that other way that we can go look at the, the columns that exist in the library. I'm going to look at, see, it says publish start date. I'm going to see if that's what we're looking for. Oh yeah, there, it's published start date. So it's just got a weird name because the name of it doesn't necessarily sound like it's the exact same thing, but it's the published start date. So that's the version, scheduled publish version. And then here's the published start date. So that's going to be when it automatically gets published. So if I go to the home page and I go look at my news, first of all, I'm going to make sure that my news, was that a news page that I just edited? I don't think it was news. I'm going to make sure I edit a news page and put a scheduled date and then watch it sort of appear in the news web part. That's what I'll do. So let me go back. You know what I need to do? I also need to add my site pages to this nav because it's getting annoying having to go in there multiple times. So let me do that. I like going here to do that. Changing it to yes. Okay. So I created this test private page, and then November news is the one that I'll go ahead and schedule that one too. And you can also schedule them without having to go into the page. So I can go to this little eye, I can just select it, and I can go to this little eye here, and I can go edit the properties. Oh, it didn't put it in there. It's supposed to be, oh wait, let me see. Oh yeah, edit columns in the form, publish start date, but it's not showing it as, oh, here we go. That's why it wasn't showing the date. I was looking at the date and not for this toggle button. Scheduling, yeah. So I can turn scheduling on without having to click on the page and go into the page. And then that way I can just put that date and time here. So I'll put that one as 11:30 also. And then I have to, changes were made to this page, republish to update. So I have to republish it. So let's see if it will let me. You can't just publish it without opening it though. So that's kind of pointless, huh? So I still have to go in and edit it and then publish it because I have to click schedule. There we go. So that saved my changes. So at least it warned me that it wasn't saving my changes yet. So now I have, so November news is scheduled, but let me make sure that this news web part is going to be showing. Right now I have it just rolling up news from just all over the company. I'll go ahead and just change it to this site. And then I can see the November news. Let's see if any of you can see it because it's supposed to be scheduled and not published yet. Maybe the scheduling's not working. We'll see. What do you think? Does anybody see this here? I should probably put other news on here that's not scheduled. Just another thing. Second news. And then I'll go ahead and post that news. So now what does it show on the home page? Now it's got both of them for me. What does it have for you all? Oh, Charles says he's used the page scheduling for campaigns, promotions, site-wide initiatives, etc. That's great. Yeah. Any other? Has anybody already used the page scheduling? And oh yeah. So why does the November news show when it's, oh, maybe it's in a different time zone. Let's see what That is a good question. What time zone is this site on? You can look at that in your site settings and your regional settings. So it says it's in Pacific time. So Pacific time is actually 9:30 a.m. right now. So it still shouldn't be published, right? So when anyone else used this feature, did it work? All right, so let's see. Go ahead and click OK. You know what I'm going to do? Okay, I'm going to try a third test. I'm going to create a brand new one and set it as being scheduled before I published it. Yes, Lisa said it's 11:30, isn't it? But it was 11:28 when I was looking at it a second ago. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create one that is not going to be published before it gets scheduled. Yeah. Oh, Larry says he uses it to push out links to Power Apps when they go active. Okay, so I'm going to do a new news post, create the post, and then before I publish it at all, I'm going to go to scheduling. So because I think what's happening is that you've published the page and then it's already got a published version. So then when you click later on an existing page, you make edits to it, and then you decide you're going to schedule that page to go live, you're really just scheduling those edits to go live. So if I create a new page and it hasn't even been posted yet, then that's going to make a difference because it won't have like a version that's an already published version. You know what I mean? Joelle, does that seem like it makes sense as to why it's doing that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So I'm going to publish this one for, I'm going to type 11:35 a.m. So that's very specific. And another, let's see, third news page. Stuff happened. Oops. Okay, there. And now I'm clicking schedule. All right, and now let me go ahead and go to the home page. So I don't see it yet. Okay, so that's really important to understand. I'm going to go ahead and explain it again. So when you create a page and you publish a page, it's published and it's out there for everyone to see. And then if you turn on scheduling on that page after you've published it, then when people are looking at your site, they can still see that previously published version. So if you turn on scheduling, make changes to it, and then click schedule, those changes are what is going to be published at that given time. But if you go to a brand new news page and you have not published it yet at all, and you are editing the page and you go into the metadata like I just did, and you set the page scheduling time, and then you click schedule, it's never been published yet. So the first time it gets published is going to be on that schedule. Lisa says on my site pages, there's a menu option for scheduling. Looks like I have to turn on scheduling. Yes, that's what I did a few minutes ago. So you have to turn it on the site pages library first. And then once you've done that, then each individual page you can turn on to be scheduled. All right, so let's go ahead and refresh the page. So that's why it was a little baffling that November news was showing when I set it to scheduled, but that's because there was already a published version of it out there. Yeah. Any other questions? And I'm going to wait. I think it's like one more minute until it's supposed to be showing there, but definitely pay attention to the regional settings and what time zone that your site is in. And you can, in your tenant, when your tenant was first set up, there's actually a time zone for the whole tenant that makes everything have a default of a certain time zone when all the sites are created. If nobody's ever touched that, it's all going to be defaulted to Pacific time. which is why this site had a regional setting of Pacific time, because that's what the time zone was on the tenant when I created the site. So this is the time on the site is going to make a difference for things like publishing, and it's also going to make a difference with your calendar and events on your calendar. So that's gonna be where you might see some inconsistencies and people seeing different times and the wrong times for the calendar. It's because maybe your site is on the wrong time zone, and so it's everything's a little bit off. Okay, let's see. I'm going to refresh now. And I wonder how many, let's see. Let's go look at site pages here. So it says 11/2 at 11:35. It says promoted state is 1. So what does promoted state 1 mean, Joelle? Let's see. It's scheduled to publish later.
Regular.
Do what?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's promoted state 1. It's scheduled.
I don't know, actually. I thought
promoted
1 was
state 2 is 0.
News. 2 is news, and I think 0 is like a regular page. So
yeah.
Maybe 1 is that. Yeah.
And you can also see this little icon here. So let me see. Oh, look, it's a 2 now because it hit 11:35. So let's go back to the home page and look at that. There's my third news page. Okay, Nick says the numbers used are 0, 1, and 2. 0 is published, just regular site page that is not news. Wow, that's a lot of information. Thanks, Nick. 2 is a news page that's published. And then, sorry, that's so much text. I'm having a problem scrolling through it. Yeah, and 1 is a news page that's not published yet. Okay, so that explains why it said 1, because it hadn't arrived at the time where it was going to auto-publish itself. Now we also have the concept of page approvals. And page approvals are going to, they can work in conjunction with pages being scheduled. So let's go ahead and go back to the site pages library. And I'll go to Power Automate here. So I'm in site pages. I go to the Automate menu. I go to Power Automate, Configure Page Approval Flow. So now you don't have to have an approval flow. You don't have to have approvals for your page, for your pages, but this is going to be if you need somebody to read over things before they will, and they have to be approved before they will show for everyone. So it says add a page approval flow to require approval before publishing new and updated pages in this library. Once approved, new and updated pages will be published. So, and then the link that I sent you all in the resources here actually explains it at the bottom. Let's see. Go back to this. If you look at the very bottom, it explains how it works in conjunction with page approvals. Scheduling can work with page approvals. So after the page is approved, then the page is published to go live at that scheduled date and time. If the page is approved at a later time after it was supposed to be scheduled, then it will publish immediately upon approval. And if the page is not approved, it won't be published. So those are just some extra little things to know about the approvals in conjunction with the scheduling. So I'll go ahead and click continue, and it's going to create a new flow for me. And I probably want to, if I have a lot of these, I probably want to tell it which SharePoint site this has to do with, because it's got a pretty generic name, submit SharePoint page for approval. Put Power Hour site. And then I need to say who the approvers are. Put that one, and Joelle. We'll probably both get an email. And so it's actually creating a flow. So if I go over to the flow interface, I'll be able to see a flow now. And if I go to flow, sign in, and go to my flows, Power Hour site, submit SharePoint page for approval. So that is where it put the flow. Let's go look at what it does. And so I'll go create a new, I'll just go home and create a new page and make it blank. To approve. I'll just call it to approve. Like I said, I'm not going to spend a lot of time in this episode editing the pages and making them look nice. This is going to need to be approved. I can't spell today. And then see, notice my button here at the top looks different. It just says submit for approval. Now let's go look at the page details first. And it took me to that web part. Hold on, let me go to page details. And so I can turn on scheduling and I can say I want this to be published at today at 11:43 a.m. and then submit for approval. And the first time, just like any other flow that you kick off manually for the first time, it's going to ask me to authenticate. Please approve. So that's my message to the approver. Okay, so then I've submitted it. So let's go look at what that did behind the scenes. Let me go to Outlook. And Joelle and I probably are both going to get this. Let's see. Has it arrived yet, Joelle? Did you get one? The approval. Let's go look at what it's doing.
Check.
Sometimes the approval email actually takes longer than like the approval, the pop-up in Teams, and yeah, it's weird. Oh yeah, I got one. I got one in Teams. So it says to approve requires approval. So since I named the page to approve, so it's telling me the name of the page. So sorry, that was a little confusing the way I named it. Requires approval for publishing. And then it's got a link to click here to review the page. And then it says it's pending a response from both of us. So it sent that to both of us. So I guess we both have to approve. It's not just going to wait for one of us, but we'll go look in the actual flow to look at what that setting is for the approvals. And it did eventually arrive in my email. It just popped up in Teams first. So now let me, I'm going to refresh this page. So now it says scheduled. See, it's been approved and now it says scheduled. Pretty interesting, huh? Yeah. So let's go look at that flow. I'll go edit that and see what it's doing behind the scenes. I like the way it integrates the flow with the library itself and actually puts the approval button right there on the page. That's pretty fancy. Has anybody ever tried that? It's been out for a couple of years, but I really just mostly wanted to show you how that works in conjunction with the scheduling and some other things. So the PowerFlows Logic app template was invalid. Oh, it doesn't like the template that it used, but it worked. Yeah, it says first to respond. So Joelle, it was not waiting for you to approve. It just sent it to both of us and it was just waiting for at least the first. So that's the default setting is approve, reject, first to respond. And then it says the name of the page and it sends them a link. And then it says if yes, and then it says content approval. So we actually had a whole other power hour. We talked about the concept of content approval and lists. This is that same exact setting. It's the content approval setting that exists in lists and libraries. And so when you turn on that approval, that pretty little approval button in your site pages library, that is behind the scenes, it's turning on content approval. It's creating this flow. It's putting the pretty little button at the top of your page and all that. All right. What else? Any other questions? Anybody have any questions about all that? I'm curious kind of for people that have, again, it's because it's been out for a couple of years, for people that have already been using it. What kind of, have you liked it? What kind of use cases? And any questions about how it works? Oh, Lisa says, what happens if Joelle rejects it now? Well, Lisa, since it sent it to both of us and was just waiting for whatever the first response was, and I approved it, then it's too late. Like the approval flow is over. It's finished. So she can't go in and reject it now. The email, when she opens up that email, it's going to say this flow, this approval action is something like it's already over. It's already been completed. And she looks at it in Teams. It's going to say it's already been completed. So she literally will not have a button to be able to do anything with it. Yeah. So Joelle said in the chat here, it told me someone else had already approved. So yeah, but if you do this and you do want all the approvers to have to approve and not just the first one, you can actually change this. So you can change it to everyone must approve if you'd like to. And then you can even change when it's rejected, what it's doing when it's approved and rejected is just changing the content approval status. But see, this little extra part that they added in here. If it equals scheduled, if the content approval status is equal to scheduled, then this is the thing where it's going to saying your SharePoint page was approved and scheduled to publish, blah, 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 blah. That is really long. And then delay until, and then this whole flow is just going to sit here and wait and delay until that publish date. And then it's going to check. And anyway, so it's got a lot of extra that's in that flow if you want to kind of go in and dissect that to see what it's doing behind the scenes. I really like, I'll go ahead and switch back to my camera. I really like using those template flows for things like this, because not only can you just dig in and see what it's doing, you can use it as a learning tool. So for example, they use a scope in here. They use email notifications. They've got a fancy little run after setting so that it only sends an email notification if certain failures happen in the flow. So they've got all this coolness built in and all this functionality that you might find a little tidbit of something that you didn't know that you could do in a flow and to be able to learn from it. So that just about wraps it up. Let's see, let me share my screen one more time and I'll go to our schedule page. So today, obviously we had Power Hour. We have office hours tomorrow for our Ultimate members. That's our private meeting where we have a Q&A in Teams. November 9th is the next Power Hour. And then the week after that, we're holding our interactive advanced class. And so we won't have a Power Hour that week, but you can always go to iwmentor.com and check out the schedule to be able to see what's coming up. And also, again, a lot of these concepts are really excerpt from our site design and web parts course that's part of the Ultimate Plan, and it teaches you all about pages and news and scheduling and web parts, and way more details than we covered in this 1 hour. So thanks again, everybody, for coming, and we will see you next time. Over and out.